All right. What's up, guys? Welcome in to our G Show on a Thursday afternoon. It's getting dark outside. It's not even 5 o'clock because it's fall. Yeah, it's fall, which means it's not that it's not been football season, but it's really full on football season, right? Story of a football season is written in November. George, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. In the football world, but in the microcosm of the football world of O-line play and some D-line play, this is Fat Man weather.
I like it.
This is where you're gonna get your best work from the big fellas.
Yeah, no tiring out right now. You don't have to manage snaps, do we, on the D line?
The big fellas come alive around October, November, Jack.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Well, all right. So that actually that puts us on an interesting topic. So Georgia defeated Florida on Saturday, 34-20. Did you go to the game?
No, didn't make it to the game. I watched it in town, just chilling.
Yeah. So I was down there in Jacksonville, and let's talk about Carson Beck, because I think that is the thing that people want to know about. I think people are wondering, like, is there a hard reset button anywhere on him that we can just reboot? But my question for you, well, I'll say this first before I ask you my question. Look, am I alone in thinking when he came out with the face paint, like immediately when I saw that, I was like, 3 picks incoming immediately. I was like, this is going to be so much for a blowout. Can I get off Georgia minus 15.5 right now? Is there a way I can just get back to zero on that bet? Because it don't matter if you outgain somebody 2-1 the way that Georgia did against Florida. If you turn the ball over 3 times and give away all that field position, you're going to get yourself into a 4-quarter football game, which is exactly what happened. So what is your feeling on just kind of what's going on with him and the face paint and everything? Like, is there,
actually, this was the first game, and it's probably it's probably different from most people this season, especially from what I've heard and different people in spaces where I've watched the games. Like, Carson hasn't made a lot of people happy at some points, throughout this season.
Sure.
But for me, this was the first game where I was like,
"Uh-oh."
Hello.
Did you say? I said, was this the first game where you were like,
Yeah. This was the first game where I was like, God damn it, Carson, what are you doing? And the reasons why is because, of course, I've been to like 2 of the biggest games this year. I went to the Bama game, went to the Texas game.
Yeah.
And so some of those plays, like, I'm seeing in real time. I'm not seeing the TV view. So I'm watching this Florida game. I'm watching this Florida game, and I'm getting to see the replays and stuff like that. And they're doing it from the QB view. And I'm like, where were you trying to throw this ball?
Right. No, that's right. I mean? Yeah.
It's like, like even one of them that got intercepted, I was like, it was going to be intercepted by the guy behind that too. You know what I mean? No matter where you threw that. So I'm like, what is he seeing? What is he not seeing that, is causing him to throw these balls? Is it something that, like, he literally isn't seeing? Is it a situation where he thought like maybe I can make that throw? You know what I mean? But in my eyes, just looking from my perspective, on the, in the comfort of my chair at the cigar bar, it looks to me like, okay, I don't know where you're throwing that ball, sir.
It feels
You
like
know what
he's
I mean?
guessing. It's
So,
starting to feel like he's guessing at times.
yeah, because like a good number of times this year, we've had some batted passes tipped. We've had some tip balls. I mean, some batted passes intercepted. We've had some tip balls intercepted. We've had some dropped passes, intercepted off hands, and like a lot of them, I wouldn't say a lot, but a number of the picks this year hadn't been Carson's fault. You know what I mean? This game, no question, it's your fault, Carson.
So,
So
I got a theory on this, and I want to hear your opinion on it because you played more football than I have, obviously. I think that early in the season, Georgia went to Alabama. They had some drops. They had some miscommunications that led to interceptions, some of that stuff that we've talked about. But I remember in that Mississippi State game sitting up in the press box, and like first half, he was playing really, really well. And he played really well, I thought, kind of throughout that game, honestly. He threw for like 450 that day. But he was dropping some straight up dimes, dude, like all over the field. And they were getting dropped. And I said to somebody, I was like, it really feels like right now that Bobo has to draw up 2 winners every 3 downs, and Carson has to deliver 2 winners every 3 downs for them to stay on the field. And I think that kind of has become the reality at times with this receiving core kind of struggling with communication and drops, which are 2 different issues. But I think both of those have kind of combined to create this sense of urgency. Like, what scares me for Beck is that I think 5 of his 11 interceptions now have come on 1st and 10, right? So, like, it's not 3rd and 6 and I'm going to arm punt this thing 40 yards downfield. And it feels like that is a product of him kind of pressing in a very real way. And I mean, we have a good comment here from the YouTube chat from Cameron Merrill. It says, are we in agreement with Herbstreit that the missed pass to Dom on the 0 blitz was on Dom? I think you're talking about the 3rd and 2 or maybe 3rd and 4 when Georgia's up 7 in the 4th quarter and they're trying to kind of salt the game away and they don't. My understanding is it was, and from what Kirby said in post game, I think it was on Dom. And I think those types of plays have created a mental spot for Beck where he's like, well, we're going to screw something up, even if I'm doing my job right somewhere along a 10-play drive. So I have to kind of overvalue every down. And I think that's the wrong perspective to have, but I think that's what's happening at this point. And I think that that's what's going on. And I think that's how we got here. My question is like, is it getting to the point, in your opinion, where he's not really seeing the field and Bobo as an offensive coordinator has to kind of step in and be careful about what kind of route combinations he gives him?
Yeah, I just think we have no reason to be in panic mode. He just needs to chill out. He just needs to chill out. Now, I do think that we need to incorporate more play action. I do think we need to run the ball more. We're a little bit too lopsided for my liking, and just history shows it's just not a great way to win football games. I'm still trusting the staff. It seems like there's always a rhyme and reason behind everything they do. But I still have my opinions on how our offensive play calling is weighted, between run and pass. And I think we should do more. I think Carson is probably a much, 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 much better athlete than we give him credit for, than a lot of people give him credit for, than probably the staff gives him credit for.
Interesting.
He needs to be put on the move more. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if there's more play action this game. You know what I mean? You're in a way, it's going to be raucous because it's Georgia coming to town, and I think a lot of play action will help that offense a lot. You know what I mean? That there's this notion that Georgia can't run the ball. No, Georgia doesn't run the ball. Georgia averages
Interesting. Okay.
Georgia averages 4.5 yards a carry. However you slice it. I don't care.
Mhm.
You want to slice it, down the middle, sideways, diagonal, however you slice it, Georgia averages 4.5 yards a carry. That's almost a first down every 2 carries. So, that's winning football. That's especially from the school that I'm from.
Yeah.
4.4, like I want my running backs averaging 4 yards a carry. We average 4.5. And so when we decide we want to run the ball, we actually do pretty good. You know what I mean? And so we just don't do it enough,
Well,
to my liking.
and I mean, that's, the right. But like, I do think for Georgia, you are in a spot a little bit here where, you aren't running play action. And so like you're not running the ball as much. So you can't maybe play action as much. And like, it's a little bit of a self-perpetuating cycle. But Josh, AKA Dog Stats on Twitter, friend of the program, he had a chart earlier this week that he posted that I thought was very informative. Beck has 186 attempts on non-play action this year, 62.9% passing, 1,300 yards, so 7.1 yards an attempt, but 10 interceptions, 10 touchdowns on regular dropbacks. You put him in play action, he's a 69.5% passer, a 9.3 yard per an attempt passer, and he only has 1 pick off play action this year. So that would seem like the answer. It seems like, he's running right at the exact same amount of play action as he was last year, which is about 36.5%, which is fine, I guess, or, whatever. But like, there's not a limit to how many play action passes you can run in a game. And it seems like
No
people
limit.
kind of forget that at times and don't like, I don't understand in college football where play action passes from a success rate standpoint are literally 3 times more successful than traditional dropbacks. Why not just Georgia, but everybody isn't running a shitload of play action. And it feels like if you have a quarterback that is struggling, that's the best way to get him out of that funk and make things simple for him.
And he does well, man. It's like even when we go back to Stetson and Monken, it's like even from those days, even up to now, once you see that fake handoff and a quarterback sets up clean, it's like almost automatic somebody's gonna catch the ball wide open. Like it's just been that way, for some years now. And it's kind of like that happy feeling. Like, when you see him, when you see the play action and then you see him set up, it's like, oh, this is gonna be nice. You start licking your chops. And that's been our offense. You know what I mean? So I think we should definitely do it some more.
Well,
Definitely
in the
more than
fake
we have.
toss action that Georgia runs, man, it feels like every time they run that fake toss sweep, like
Mhm.
they hit something. And I think that's
You gotta sell out. You gotta sell out to stop it.
yeah. And I think the thing that like I will give credit to Mike Bobo for, because I've seen a lot of people kind of blame this on Bobo, and I don't agree with that.
No, it's not. It's not. I only thing I want from Bobo is more runs. I'm an old offensive lineman, so and I think we have, we're short a ton of backs, but the ones that do play, they're fairly talented. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just give me a few more. Give me a few more, and I learned a long time ago from Gary Kubiak. He would scream, so we got to stay on schedule, on schedule, on schedule, on schedule. And Georgia gets off schedule a lot. On schedule, for those that may be listening that don't quite know what that means in terms of football, is staying on schedule is getting, you know, feasible getting Super Bowl gains every down.
Staying
Especially on first
ahead
down.
of the sticks.
Stay ahead of the sticks. You know, on first down, you want 3 or 4 yards. Second down, you want 2 or 3 yards. You want to stay in third and manageable. Georgia ends up in second and 10 too much for my liking. You know, second and 10, that's stress on your QB. And you got your QB dropping back on first and 10, you know, that's, you know, if you're gonna drop back on first 10, make it be play action every time. You know what I mean? Give your quarterback a chance. You know what I mean? Yes. For a lot is given, a lot is required from a quarterback. But at the same time, put them in the best situations to succeed.
Well, and to your point,
on first down.
Yeah, when you talk about staying ahead, when I talk about success rate, you know, when I talk about these success rate numbers, all that is a fancy phrasing for how well did you stay on schedule. Success rate just manages, did you get from first and 10 to second and 6, and then from there did you get to third and 2, and from there did you get a first down.
That's 3 yards a play.
Yeah. 3.3 yards a play is a first down.
Yeah.
It's not that
It's not hard. It's not hard. Like if you know, I'm not mad if we end up at 3rd and 4. You know, it's kind of like it seems like we
3rd and 4 is a good place to be, man.
I mean, yes, it seems like we're scared of 3rd and 4 too much. No.
I agree. No, I mean, there's times too where I see Georgia in 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 2, and that's where they're taking their shot plays and going downfield for 30, 40 yards, or trying to hit cash on a wheel route down the boundary. And I think that those concepts are good concepts, and I think that they're well-designed plays because they are, but I'd like to see them on 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 4 instead of 3rd and 4, because with the guys that Georgia has, you know, I would say maybe the strength of this receiver core is probably working like slants and drags and quick in breaking stuff. And that should be your 3rd and 4 plays, right? And some of these deep curls. So, yeah. I mean, I think you and I kind of are in agreement on this one, man.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
And I think the thing that was interesting about this game on Saturday that I will give Bobo credit for is it seemed like Georgia came into that game wanting to pound the rock and running a lot of toss sweeps and trying to, you know, get the ball, be a little more creative in their run schemes than they had been. And you kind of get into that game and ETN goes out, and I think they were in a spot where they're like, we have a quarterback that's struggling to see the middle of the field. We don't feel great about that. And we have a running back who, you know, is going to have to like carry the load, but is a young guy, and we don't want to put maybe 30 carries on him today. So I thought Bobo did a good job of like solving that conundrum of, hey, all of a sudden your quarterback, like you came out the first couple drives, and what did you do? Your tight ends looked as good as they've looked all year. You got your Rosick running up the middle of the field. You got Delp and Lucky. Like quietly, Georgia had a day with their tight ends where they had 6 targets and 5 receptions for 91 yards. Like that's a very efficient day from those guys. But you kind of lost that part of your offense when you saw Beck not being able to kind of look off some of this stuff up the seam. So I thought Bobo, like Georgia's down 7 in the 3rd quarter, and you've come out and Carson's had another turnover to start the half. That run play that he had designed for Dylan Bell, where Lucky, you know, acted like he was coming in motion on split zone and then peeled back off. Like that was really impressive stuff to me. You know, like I thought that was nicely designed and 44-yard gain, and it like got everything going. So for the things that I am critical about, I do have to give credit to like when Georgia needs a drive or needs a play, it seems like they've had one. And, and the same goes for Beck, dude. Like, I think there's questions about like mentally kind of how is he feeling right now. But at Alabama, he like pulled himself out of that tailspin.
Mm-hmm.
At Texas, it's 3rd and 11, and he basically goes and throws the exact same route to Arian that had just gotten picked off and taken all the way back for almost a pick 6, and he laces it in there. 3rd and 6 in this game. He waits for Arian to break open deep, and man, and I was there. Like, he had a shorter first down that he could have taken, and he trusted himself to throw the explosive pass. So that doesn't say to me that like he's a guy who doesn't believe he can do it. Like, he is making winning plays when it comes down to it, and I've been impressed with his resiliency.
He has like in the places I go, and you just hear people talking, just in the places that I am. He has a reputation as a second half guy. You know what I mean? So we're, and he's proven it. So we're not in trouble in the second half. We just need to put it all together. You know what I mean? Because he knows how to ball out in the second half. It's kind of like, I think I said it during the game. I was like, I appreciate it, but I don't need him for his back to be up against the wall to be, to play clean. You know what I mean? Right. I need him to play clean ball all game. And like, he doesn't have to feel that pressure. He just needs to play. Don't worry about the next play. Worry about the play you're wrong. Don't worry about the NFL. Don't worry about nothing but the play that you're on. You know what I mean? You don't have to, we haven't had, now, has it happened before? Yes. I think Stet won some games for us. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's Georgia football. I don't think our quarterback has to carry us. We have that luxury. You know what I mean? So he just needs to chill out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I struggle with, to be honest with you. And I'm honestly not sure how I feel about it at this point in terms of this run game. Because look, man, like, I do go back and watch these games closely and carefully. And I mean, these backs are not like, they're not like getting a ton of clean air to just like come downhill into the hole. You are seeing, I feel like, a lot of carries from Georgia's running backs where, man, it's kind of like tough for them to find space. And I mean, to that point, their, offensive success rate from a rushing standpoint, which again, we just talked about, is a measure of how well they stay on schedule. It's 43.6%. They're 45th in the country in rush success rate, which we're used to seeing this offense in top 10, top 5 rush success rate. Some of that probably has been hurt by Tate and Wilson not being, not having continuity, but like, even with them being back, there still isn't continuity. And I'm curious to get your perspective on that as an offensive lineman. Like, with as much zone as it seems like Georgia is running, that feels like a chemistry thing where you want 5 guys that are really used to playing next to each other. And Georgia has a different offensive line trotting out there damn near every drive. And at this point, like, I would really think it's the time of the season to pick 5 and go with them, at least, for your stretches of the game that are competitive. If you want to rotate guys up 21 late in the third quarter, fine. But
I'd love to see the tape from end zone view. That's how you watch O-line tape. I love to see it in the full games, end zone view. Which had that access to make a proper evaluation of the unit and some individual guys. But you're right. I wish they do offensive line. That's why they don't really, you don't switch guys in. They don't sub. Like, offensive lines play the entire game. I think we went over that when, there was the talk amongst guys in football when when Anthony Richardson tapped himself out of a game. Like
Yeah.
all the O-line guys were like, all the
Nah,
O-line
dog.
guys were like, dog, we played the whole game. What are you doing? Like, it's six guys that don't come out the game. It's your Q and your 5 guys up front. You play the whole game. And so it'd be in our best interest to have the same 5 guys as often as we can. I'm not sure if this is an issue, because like I said, I like to see the game from an evaluating perspective, in a different orientation than I'm seeing on the screen. I would like to see if our scheme is proper for our personnel as well. You know what I mean? If we're a zone team, I need to see if we have zone personnel. Like, I need to see if, how's the snap count? Like, all that matters when you're running zone. Like, it needs to look like a chorus line. Everybody.
Well, it's not. I mean, we know that.
We know it's
not.
The line.
Not continuity there.
The backs, the line, everybody. When you snap that ball, I should be able to hit pause and everybody look the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's zone football. That's zone run game. I should be able to hit pause at any moment in that snap, and everybody look the same. I can show you some of the, some of my Broncos tape. That was our specialty. And so you got to see if we're gonna be a zone team, you have to be like, it takes a lot of repetition. I'm telling you now, in Denver, we didn't hit no sleds. We ran the plays all day. In individual period, we ran the plays. We might have hit some pads, some little hand shields, one-on-one, just to see where our head and hand placement. But we didn't go over there, hitting sleds, pushing sleds, going through chutes, none of that stuff. We fired off the ball and we ran the plays. You know what I mean? It's that repetition. I need to know if we have that personnel, or should we be a gap team? I can tell you now, when I got to Detroit, we tried to be a zone team, but we also had 350-pound guards where Ed Mulatalo, who was a road grader with the Ravens, but we tried to put my man in the zone scheme. I was used to it. I'm a big guy, but I could run. You know what I mean? Right. But we had it was just like, it was kind of like, it wasn't, you couldn't run it how you needed to run it with the personnel. We needed to be running something else. I need to know if that's us at Georgia. But I'm still gonna point out 4.5 though.
I hear you, but I'll say this, man. So I can give you some of that data just off the top right here. So I mean, Georgia has run 114 zone to 74 gap calls this year, which is, I think pretty close to 2/3. Don't quote my math there, but call it what? Yeah, 188 divided by 74. Oh, that's not right. 74 divided by 188. Okay, they're more of a 60% zone to gap team, which is not like, it's a little, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they're making some of those decisions. What I do know, because I look at this every single week, is that the percentage of zone to gap that they run week to week varies incredibly. There have been times this year where they have been at 80%. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me pause you right there. But I want you to carry on, because you always have good points. That can't happen.
Okay.
Either gonna be one thing.
Tell me
continuity,
why.
like you said, continuity. Like I go back to, like I said, I go back to Denver because zone is what I know from that time being there. We ran the same plays every single week, and we might throw in a wrinkle for that particular team. We might throw in a gap play, but we were going to run 18 wide. We was gonna run 18 tight. No, we was gonna run 18 white, 18 wide. We was gonna run, 17 wide. We was gonna run 15. That's your tight zone. 14. That's your tight zone. We're gonna run them over and over and over and over. And we might throw in a play where we wind back. Where the fullback might start front side, he put his foot in the ground and go backside. And the quarterback and the running back goes with him. We might throw in, versus a 3-4 team, you got to have some gap plays because it's hard to run. It's hard to run zone, zone runs versus 3-4 teams, So you might throw in some gap plays. We knew, Junior say I was going to run through. We're going to throw in some gap plays and we make him think he got a gap open and bam, come off of him and, smack him if you can, but it was the same plays every week and everybody knew we was going to run the same plays every week and you just had to stop us. And not many people did. Like you can't be a gap team one week. And
all right, so here, let me give you some numbers. Against Texas, Georgia ran zone 13 times, gap 12 times. Against Florida, again, pretty much an identical split of 14 to 13, 13 zone, 14 gap. Let's go back to week 6? Who'd they play then? Auburn game. Okay. Against Auburn, 23 zone, 8 gap. So that's a big difference in, that's basically 75% zone to gap one week, and then you're 50.
And like I said, that's fine because that makes me think you're a zone team with a few gap wrinkles. But
what about when they're 50?
I don't want to see the inverse of that.
Well, so you don't mind them being 14 zone, 13 gap like they were last week against Florida? You think that's fine?
No. I think you need to be one with sprinkle of the other.
Yeah, it seems like they are, and I will say under Monken, they were pretty close to an even split zone to gap as well. But I also thought they used some of, they used their personnel a little bit better, and they had personnel that was a
different personnel.
Yeah,
all the way around. You know what I mean? And we made them respect Stetson as a runner.
Yeah.
And we made them respect our backfield.
And the way Sawyer moved as a tackle, was unique for the college level, in my opinion. I mean, his ability to come around and pull and steal guys down was a little bit different than what we're seeing. I feel like Georgia's tackle play this year, to be frank with you, especially in some run block situations, both zone and gap, tackle and guard for that matter, truthfully, you have seen guys at times maybe not finishing plays as far downfield as you have.
Yeah, we don't have those guys at tackle this year. We don't,
what kind of guys? Do you mean talent or do you just mean effort or what?
NFL players.
Okay.
That's been the standard since.
Do you feel like
pretty much since Kirby's got there, trust there are no, you don't get many 6-year,
right?
Not in this era,
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, I redshirted, and drafted in the first, and it's the same thing with, Stinchcomb. He was redshirted, drafted in the second. Right. It's a different era.
Well, I still feel
now, yeah, they need to stay, but if you can leave, that tells me the type of caliber player you are. The fact that Truss never had the option to go to the NFL, that's not no knock against him. He is what God made him, but that hasn't been our standard as of late.
What about Green over at left tackle?
I thought he's good. I think he's a good player. I know he probably not having his best year this year, but he has the physical ability. He's probably have to look at him some more. He's probably more in Jamari role. Jamari ended up being a guard in the NFL. And that's probably where Ernest is headed. You know what I mean?
Ernest was a guard in. He was kind of rated as a guard coming out of high school. Like, I think people expected him.
They saw that, we saw an athlete we could put over there.
Right. Well, I thought Truss
that could set an edge, you know what I mean, and be strong.
The best that I've seen Georgia look in like stretch zone type stuff this year was with Truss at right guard. Like,
they were moving. He needs to be a guard. He can't dance.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's the center that, he's, when I'm gonna say center, I'm talking about basketball terms. He can't dance. He's not, you want Elijah Wan at tackle. You know what I mean? You don't want, Brendan Haywood at tackle. You know what I mean?
You want the dream shake.
He was a good player. Brendan Haywood had a hell of a career.
I grew up on Brendan Haywood.
Exactly. North Carolina boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want, I see you.
House of Swank, baby.
And so, that's what you want, the dream at tackle. You don't want, you can play with Haywood at tackle, but you would prefer the dream. You know what I mean? That's Truss. Yeah. You know what I mean? Truss is better at guard, than he is at tackle for us. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the thought process with picking our lineups at offensive line, but I think we need to find one and stick with it. You know what I mean? And make them guys play ball. It's getting down to the nitty gritty.
It is. That's my thing. Is it's November, and like, assuming you win one of the next two games, you will be in the playoffs in not that long.
Yeah.
So it's time to like figure out who's your best five. Like, when it comes down to business, who are the five dudes that you want out there on that field? And I think that honestly, like, for Carson as well, psychologically, I would think that some of that might have an effect as well too. Like, not knowing who's coming out every drive and all that. Like, that's,
you want to be in there with your guys, man. You want to be in there with your guys. You want to, you love them all, but you want your five to go out there with and get busy.
Yeah. I'm ready for John Jackson to learn how to play football.
Big human.
6'10". Yeah.
So big.
I need him on field goal block, and then I need him to be a 2-year starter.
Like, does he ever play field goal block?
No, but I feel like if they got into like a game, like,
he need to. That's like
a field goal for the game, they'd put him out there like they put Darius Smith out back in the Ohio State playoff game.
That's what they used to do with That's what they used to do with the tackle Langston Walker at the Raiders. He blocked the game. He had a game winning block kick versus us. The only game I ever lost to the Raiders. No game, and he blocked the kick that won the game from him. He was like a 6'8" tackle.
That's
you know what I mean? And he blocked the kick. It could pay off if they get him. I don't know if they want to do that. It gets kind of muddy in there. I don't know if they want to hurt him or whatever. But I would try him out.
For sure.
It's not like he has, experience timing a ball in the air.
No doubt. That's right. That's exactly right. Alley-oop, big fella. Catching alley-oops from Bronny James.
Right.
All right. So spinning this forward, Georgia, Ole Miss in Oxford. pretty much season on the line for the Rebels. You raise $12 million in NIL to bring in types of dudes on the line of scrimmage that can make you competitive with a Georgia, with an Alabama, with a with those kind of caliber teams, make you a title contender. And we're gonna find out on Saturday if they've got it or not. What are you seeing from Ole Miss this year? Do you what's your kind of overarching thoughts on this game?
Ole Miss has been Ole Miss. You know what I mean? They're gonna they're gonna wow you sometimes. Then they're gonna be like, aha, there goes that Ole Miss that I know. You know what I mean? There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling on Lane Kiffin teams. No matter the talent. Because we can't say, we can't put them in this.
Why do you feel that way about Kiffin?
I don't know. It just happens.
I mean, it is what we've seen. There has been a clear.
There's a ceiling, whether it's glass or whatever it is, but there's a ceiling on Lane Kiffin teams. No matter they've had plenty of first round picks. They've had plenty of first round picks at key positions. Mm-hmm. They've had it all. They've had what it takes to win a good amount of games, but they're gonna lose some too that make you think, okay, what's going on with this team? You know what I mean? That's why as high flying as they are.
I mean, look, I don't
know if they scare me, so to speak. It's kind of like,
I think they got dudes that scare you, not you personally, but I'll speak.
They got dudes, but they always have.
Trey Harris is a dude, but we don't know if he's gonna, if he plays. I think we all can agree he's not 100% healthy. Like, mm-hmm. I'll put it this way: last year when Ole Miss came to Athens, my breakdown of them was like, this is a pretty boom or bust offense, and I thought it was interesting because them offensively, like for Ole Miss, their big plays, they rely on big plays, and their big plays come on first and second down. And Lane's not stupid. Like, say what you want about him. People like him. People don't like him. It's not dumb. And he understands offensive football, and he understands
no question
his personnel very well most of the time. And so, what I took out of that coming into last year's game was this team that kind of relies on big plays feels like it needs to go get its big plays on first and second, because if it gets into a spot where it's an obvious passing situation, I don't think they can protect this dude. Get their bore out in that game. Looking at this offense, I see a lot of that same theme. And, the thing that they don't have this time around, they do not have Quinshon Judkins or the other running back, Bentley, who I thought was better than Judkins for a lot of last year and runs like very hard. So I think they come into this game without a run game, really, other than Dart. And I also think, like, brother, you want to run your quarterback 15 times against Georgia? Be my guest.
They're going to tee off.
Yeah.
He got smacked a few times last year, and it was like,
I was in Kirby's press conference on Monday, and he got asked a question about targeting and the quarterback, and what do you tell your guys about tackling a running quarterback? And he's like, I tell them to tackle him like a running back. Like, tackle him clean, obviously. Don't get targeting, but like light his ass up.
Yeah.
And
no question.
So I look at this and my logic here is Ole Miss, I think they are what they are in terms of their passing game identity. Like, Dart is better the further down the field you get. And I think he's gotten a little more accurate short stuff this year, but like you look at big games, man, I go and he was 1 of 7 on 20-plus yard throws against Kentucky. and that offense fell into a lull, got beat 20-17, I think was the final score. He even got some big yards after the catch on kind of intermediate throws, but still, like, that was what they put up. And then at South Carolina's offense was beat up and listless, so like they won that game 27-3, but he's only 2 of 9 on 20+ yard throws in that game. Against LSU, he's 3 of 12 on 20+ yard throws, with 3 of those attempts being graded as interceptable. So I think you look at something where, are you in a spot as Georgia that you feel like, okay, like, if we can just kind of limit these big plays, even if we give up a 30-yard pass, even if we give up a 40-yard pass, as long as we're not busting coverages against this tempo, which has been a problem at times for Georgia this year. Let's be honest, they have busted some coverages, but like, as long as we can tackle these guys and make them play this out in the red zone, where Dart has 1 touchdown pass all year, we feel pretty good. And we saw what happened against Texas when Georgia, I don't think Georgia really had to respect Texas's run game. You saw what happened, 7 sacks, 4 turnovers forced, all that. Like, I think we could be looking at a similar scenario. What say you?
Yeah, getting in versus tempo, man. Schedule is important. And if we get them off schedule more times than not, it can be trouble. You know what I mean? You don't want to go fast going nowhere. And that can be a problem for them. I think for one, I think Kirby knows this guy. I think he knows him well. And I think Georgia's gonna be fine. I think last week's game versus Arkansas, who, let me tell you, Arkansas is not Georgia.
Nah.
I can strongly say Arkansas is not Georgia. So right. I think that game in the 60 points or whatever they scored has the rest of the country thinking, oh my God, this is gonna be a shootout. It's gonna be
coming in hot.
Coming in hot, yeah, and probably so. And they're gonna be at home, that plays a factor as well. But at the same time, they gotta come play. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna put up 60 points. You know what I mean? And so it's gonna be a good game. Of course, I think Georgia wins, but it's gonna be interesting to see. I haven't watched Ole Miss a ton this year. So I'm definitely gonna be front and center.
You got a score prediction for us?
For this game? I think Georgia. I think I'm gonna go 30. I'm gonna go 38. 38, Georgia 38, Ole Miss 21.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this spread. It's set at 2.5 all week, and to kind of put into perspective, Craig Lawson says 22-5 dogs. That would be awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that would be like nasty work, but an old school SEC football performance. I think Vegas at this point, with how Carson Beck has turned the ball over in some of these games, like, I think they kind of see this as like, that's who he is. He's probably going to turn the ball over a few times. And they still have Georgia favored by 2.5, which tells me, and neither Vegas is always right. Actually, I think, we have a pretty good track record here ourselves. But point being, like, I think if Carson Beck can just get you to the end of this game, like, even if you're -1 in the turnover column at the end of this game, I think you win comfortably. Like, I think as long as you're not -3,
right,
you're okay. And
telling you, my scores have been pretty close this year.
Yeah, you said 38-21.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think
last week I said what 30 something 10. I said 30 or 13 or something like that. I might have said 10 or 13. I was like 30.
I think I said 38-17 last week.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at this and I say, man, you know, with Ole Miss, I do think their defensive line, I don't think Ole Miss can block Georgia up front. They certainly, I don't think we'll be able to run the ball. Look, Dart is a dual threat, but he ain't a dual threat like a Milrow or some of these cats that he's not Johnny Milrow, bro. Like he is a straight ahead runner, and that's not what hurts Georgia. Last year in this game, I watched Georgia start 2 true freshmen at linebacker with Wilson and Allen, and Ole Miss still couldn't really move the football, even though those guys were kind of busting some things at times. I think that Ole Miss's defensive line is much more real this time around. Like, I think they can make Carson uncomfortable, but I also think that, like, Carson can get to some sort of a place at least where it's like, hey, bro, you can take a sack. You can throw the ball out of bounds. You can check it down to Trevor. You can do any of these things as long as you don't turn the football over. We will win this game. And I think that is the message. If you need to punt on 4th and 18 at some point in this game, do it. Do it. Because your defense could score in this football game as well. Like, play field position. And I'll say this. Kirby always says it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Georgia last week in that game against Florida, everybody, is down on certain things. Georgia averaged like 46. Let me see real quick so I don't talk out of my ass. I think they averaged 42 yards a drive in that game while holding Florida. Yeah, Georgia, 42.8 yards a drive in that game, held Florida to 17.9 yards a drive. They should have dog walked them out of the stadium. That's the power of turnovers. You eliminate the turnovers, you win this game very comfortably. I do think it's lower scoring. I think the weather is going to be bad. I think Georgia probably runs the ball a good bit, gets back to how business is done. Run defense or run the football and play defense on the road in this league wins you games. I'm going to say Georgia 31, Ole Miss.
I know what you're going to say.
14.
I thought you were going to say 17.
I thought about 17. Damn it. But I like that kind of lower scoring game. It's a slog. And I think Georgia's got more pass to win.
I'm comfortable. It seems like I'm always comfortable putting Georgia in the 30s. It's like no matter how a game goes, it seems like they always get 30 points.
Yeah, they do. I mean, no
matter what's going on, it's always 30 something.
They could have 3 turnovers like last week and, still get to 30 points. And I mean, the thing that you got to remember is 2 of those turnovers from Carson came like while they were going in to score at least field goals. Yeah, they were moving the ball really well. So I just think they got to manage him. And I know that people are notorious for hating the Bobo 3rd down draw play from yesteryear, but I would like to see some 3rd down runs here and there from Georgia. Not some power runs on 3rd and 1 that are obvious, but I'm talking like a 3rd and 4 out of 4 wide. That's a little delay draw or something like that. Like, I know Mike Bobo has that play in his playbook because I've seen it my entire life. There's a time and place for that, and this might be the time and place for that, as much as some of you will hate it because it'll give you PTSD. So, all right, George, before we wrap up, let everybody know where to find you on social media and all that good stuff.
George Foster 72 on everything. Holla at your boy.
There you go. Come check me out at Graham Coffee DC. Really come check us out at dogcentral.com. Got a lot cooking over there. A lot of momentum for the site. A lot of new subscribers over the last month. So thank you guys for subscribing. It means the world. Allows me to do what I do for a living. And we appreciate you guys. We got 3421 from Huggins family in the YouTube chat. y'all hit us up on Twitter or come check us out on Dog Central. Let us know your score predictions. Until then, we'll see y'all.